Welcome back, everybody. We are about to go over the exact philosophy that me and Andrew live by every single day. The same philosophy that has given us as close to balance as what we believe balance is. Balance is not 50-50. However, it is an understanding that you can be the best version of yourself in your fitness, in your mentality, in your tribe, and also have your business be building. And as your business builds, so does every other aspect.
Absolutely. I'm excited about today's episode because as we dive in, this is something that changed my life. And going from just focusing on one thing, I years ago had the philosophy of like, oh, I just need to get really good at making money or just really good at business or really good at faith and understanding we can really balance the wheel. And balance is an overused word, but be able to design our life in a way that serves our vision is a game changer. So you're going to want to get your notepad and your pen because by the end of today, you're going to know where you stand because to get where we want to go, we first must know where we are. And then once you know that, you're going to know the action steps to take to now get to where you want to go. But before we do that, why is there a great big 5-0 behind this?
So there is a big 5-0 because yesterday we just did our 50th episode of this show, and two very special people sent us this 50, which I think it's 50 on the screen, but if it's 05, let us know in the chat if it's 05 or 50. And it's a testament to us setting out a goal to do something every day, and we did it, and it was just a very good reminder of this is just the very beginning.
And much more to come.
Absolutely. So by the end of this episode today, you're going to get the exact steps you need to take to balance your wheel. And this is actually going to be a self-assessment. So this is a workshop. This is one where I want you to have your pen and pad in front of you. Get ready to rock and roll. Someone said it's 05, but guess what? I have a switcher to make it 50. So we're going to rock and roll, guys. Have your pen and pads out, and me and Andrew are going to flow in this topic. This is the Truka 8 wheel, the 8 categories of life. Take a picture of this, have this in front of you. If you have our cups, we have it right in front of us at all times. These are the 8 categories that make up all of your life. Those of you, of course, as entrepreneurs who are developing yourselves, you know that something like this is so worthwhile because you can go and read the next, or you really could read 100, 200, 300 self-development books, and one of them might touch on vitality, which is your physical health. One of them might be a business book, which will touch on wealth. One of them might be how to win friends and influence people, which will touch on tribe. But there's not been a full wheel that has been encapsulated in the way that we've wanted to see it, all in one place. So that's really what the Truka 8 is.
It's a game changer. It's the philosophies we live by, and it's been something that has caused us to not only have a successful business, but what I would deem, and to everyone's success I know may be a little different, but to deem what has been success for me. Used to, I had success in business, but not success that I wanted in life. So this is going to make that make sense for you.
So what we're about to go over is each of the 8, and I'm going to have you rate yourself in each of the 8s. But let me explain this process for a moment. If you took a look at this, and some of us are in a position where we haven't been working out consistently, we haven't been eating right, and I remember being in a position where I was working so hard that I wasn't actually working my body. I wasn't being healthy. I wasn't drinking enough water. So what had happened in that time was my body, I started to let go of my body. I started to let go of the health that I had, and some problems started to come up. And I remember having a moment in my gut when, I don't know what that part is in your stomach, but it's the thing that happens when you have an ulcer, which is that part pops. And it's just super disgusting. But that was happening in my body. And what happened there was I took a whole week off of calls. And that whole week of calls ruined the business because I didn't have anything structured. And because of that, I wasn't making any money. And the business actually flopped because of that 1 week. But that happened because my vitality went down, and then my wealth went down. Then the business, which is vocation, went down. And then what happened after that is my emotions started to become unregulated. I started to blame the business. I started to blame other people. And what happens after that? everything else goes down. But now on the flip side, Andrew, what happens?
I like the green arrows rather than the red ones. When we decide to put focus on that thing, when we put focus on our vitality, when we have been hitting the gym, when we have been going for the morning walk, when we have been drinking the water, when we are feeling good, when our body is feeling well, everything else becomes a whole lot easier. You ever tried to maybe pray or regulate your emotions or build wealth when you've been incredibly sick? It's hard to do anything when we're not feeling well. So how do we make sure that we are consistently putting our body in a place to continually be doing well as possible so that everything else becomes easier? Connectedness.
Almost. Interconnectedness.
Yes.
So you look at any of these spokes on the wheel, and I call them spokes on a wheel because if you have one of the spokes on your bike broken, your bike's going to be wobbly. It's going to be a wobbly ride. But if you look at any of these 8, and if you ask yourself, what if I improved this side of my life? Let's run it through an example. Let's do wealth. If you started to make more money, your emotional health would probably be better. You probably wouldn't be so stressed about money. No more scarcity. And because your emotional health improving, your confidence is probably going to get better. Because your confidence is better, now you have the confidence to remove some negative people in your life. Now your environment starts to improve. Maybe you decide to move out to another city, you go to a different space, and all of a sudden you're around other entrepreneurs. So guess what? Your tribe starts to improve. And when your tribe starts to improve, maybe some of them have a very strong faith. You know, they're also very entrepreneurial, doing different things, and they start to inspire you to go to church. They start to inspire you to serve more, to be a better person. Now, all of a sudden, you see your entire life get better because of one decision you made to, in this example, improve your wealth. But then let's take another example. Let's do wisdom. You start reading every morning, and you're reading a business book, or let's just do this. You're reading a book on Stoicism, right? Let's just say that.
Good book.
You're reading Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, and you start learning about Marcus Aurelius's time as an emperor. So you start learning a little bit of leadership skills. So in those leadership skills, you start bringing people together. Yeah. You start doing a couple dinners, bring some good people together, and then you spark some great ideas. And one of the person at the dinner has a real estate deal, right? Let's just say they have a real estate deal, and you want to serve them. So you start serving that person, and all of a sudden you guys do a joint venture on that deal. You guys partner up on that deal because you brought them the buyer, because it's another person that you brought to the dinner, and all of a sudden you make more money. And as you make more money, the whole wheel starts to happen. Guys, type in the chat yes. Type in the chat yes if this is making total sense. If you're seeing how this wheel can help you across your entire life, and when one thing goes up, everything goes up, and when one thing goes down, everything else goes down.
That's something I didn't understand for so long, and I would get focused because I didn't understand the mentality of how you do anything is how you do everything. And so I would get so dialed in on one thing, and it was easy to forget about my health, to forget about reading, to forget about morning routine, to forget about many other categories, and just go hard on one thing.
Yep.
And while there's something to be said for focus, don't shiny object syndrome, there's something to be said for we're humans and all aspects of life matter. And if our bank account's low and we want to help people, it's harder to help people if we're on zero. But if we're sick and we want to make money, it's harder to make money when we're sick. Everything affects everything. And this is such a game changer because there's something I talk about, and probably do a whole segment on this someday, but duplicating your efforts or duplicating your action. Because now you step into a place where when you are reading, you are building your knowledge, and everything, as Leo just described, begins to affect everything else for the positive.
So let's jump right in to the assessment. This assessment will help you understand exactly where you are on all these 8. I don't want it to just be theory. I don't want this to just be a fun educational topic for you guys. I want this to be a philosophy that you can utilize, and today you can start to improve your life. It's a very bold statement and a very simple statement. You can start to improve your life, number one, just by seeing the wheel in this format, But number two, being able to rate yourself and prioritize which areas are struggling the most. So we're going to walk you through everything, but make sure you have a pen and pad open, ready to rate yourself. Okay?
This is going to give you a new perspective on where your life currently is.
Now, this right here, I have it down where you basically make a circle. Hey, let's do it together. Let's do it together. Let's add a page here. And let me draw it out. So you're going to draw a circle. Hey, look at that. That's pretty good.
Using a mouse.
And then you're going to add a plus sign in the middle. And then you're going to do an X. That's all you got to do.
Unless you're driving.
Unless
you
you're
just
driving.
Watch this, put it in your saved, share it with somebody, and remember to come back to it.
So this is how you make this. And how you rate yourself is, let's just say for vitality, 1 out of 10. Okay? And all you're going to do, if it's a 5, you're going to fill in 5. If it's a 6, you're going to fill in 6. If it's an 8, you're going to fill in 8. And you're just going to put next to it. That's a V8 right there. All right? Pretty simple. Type in the chat yes if you're following, if you're ready to go.
V8, you got one of those in the garage.
I do.
Hemi.
So we're going to go back to this, and we're going to walk you through what each of these really mean so you can understand. Because you might say, Leo, what is faith? What does that mean? I have a different faith, right? Or what does wealth mean? Does it mean how much money I have, or is it how much I have in the bank account? We're going to explain each one because it might not be what you really think. A lot of it is foundational. When me and Andrew created this philosophy, we dug down deep to really what makes vitality work. What makes your wealth work? What are the habits that make your tribe a great tribe? So as me and Andrew go through, we're going to teach it, but just rate yourself during the process of us going through each of these 8. Let's see what we got here. Everyone's ready? Everyone's ready? Okay, good. Sweet, guys. So starting with number 1 is vitality. Let me move us for a minute here. Let me do this. Boom. You can see it? There we go. Vitality. So this is your energy, health, fitness, and overall well-being. This is how well are you taking care of your body? How well are you sleeping? How well are your habits with nutrition and exercise? It's so important to not, or rather, to pay attention to how you feel right now, but then ask yourself, where does that come from? If you feel groggy or low energy, is it because you haven't been to the gym for the past week? Is it because you have stopped drinking enough water and hydrating yourself, doing the one thing you know you should be doing?
Maybe you're just lacking caffeine.
Maybe you're just lacking caffeine, and that's why we drink tea on this show.
Cheers to the tea.
Cheers. And most of the time, if you're low energy, it's because of your sleep. So rate yourself 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10, how is your vitality? And also type it in the chat. Type it in the chat, 1 out of 10. Let's do some accountability here and be able to share really where we're at. Andrew, where are you?
I am today at a 7.
Okay.
And it's due to sleep schedule's been struggling the last 5 days due to the projects we're working on. And so I will be, by the end of this week, back to a 9. Where are you at?
I will ditto you. I'm also a 7. Me and Andrew basically have the same schedule. And when we go to the gym, we're both in the gym. So I'm a good 7 right now, and I'll get that up. Everyone else type in the chat. Go ahead, Andrew.
Next is your emotions. Now, this was a huge one for me because I thought I was emotionally stable. I didn't just get mad at every little thing, right? So I believed that I was good there. But when I really started to look at not just how I acted, but what I felt internally, I realized that years ago, I was operating at about a 2. I could let people say something that would throw me off track, that would upset me, that would mess up my day. If a deal fell through, I was in the dumps the rest of the day. Crap, this business sucks. If a deal came through, I was giddy and excited and ready to celebrate. And I was riding constant emotional ups and downs. And to be a business owner, to be running at the level that you are running, you have to have emotional intelligence to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why am I feeling this way right now? That person cut me off in traffic. I could be angry, or I could let it be. Maybe they needed to get somewhere faster than I do. And so being able to take that negativity or that deal falling through, from being, crap, this business sucks, to, well, apparently there's either A, better deal right behind it, or B, there was maybe a problem with that one I was going to run into, and thank God it's gone. So I now shift my perspective, even though the circumstance didn't change. And by doing that, regulate my emotions. Big piece of this, and we'll talk about tribe in a moment, is surrounding yourself by people who continue to hold you accountable in this way.
100%. So how you feel emotionally right now is typically a symptom of your emotional intelligence. When you understand your emotions, when you understand, why am I angry right now? Why am I jealous? Who does this come from?
Yeah.
Right? Why does my emotions go with the amount of money I have? Right? That's a lack of emotional intelligence. That's a lack of emotional awareness. Being aware that my mind and emotions run with how much money I have.
Wow.
That was a big mistake that I made years in the past from my parents, having the same thing with their emotional trauma, with financial trauma. And that forces us to follow those same waves. When money's up, our emotions are up. When money's down, our emotions are down. And we have to understand in entrepreneurship, it's always going to be up and down. But in order to be a successful entrepreneur, you can't let your emotions always be up and down. Your emotions have to be stable. So 1 out of 10, rate yourself. Where are you in your emotions, in your emotional intelligence, in your ability to regulate those emotions? And by the way, guys, you're saying, Leo, is this a year? Is this right now? Is this a week? Let it be the week, right?
Good.
I rate it by the week.
Where's your emotions at this week?
I would say a good 8.5.
Good.
Which, by the way, it's typically always a 10.
Yeah.
It's typically always a 10, but we have so many projects rolling that it's a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah.
Not my emotions, but the amount of projects we have. So being so over bandwidth, it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
But that's new levels for us to grow into.
And something that I think is so important as you guys are listening to this is you're going to go into seasons, I call them seasons of hustle. You know, we're in that season right now. We knew coming into this year we was going to be hosting over nearly 4 dozen events this year. The most events we've ever hosted, online and in person. We knew coming into this year we was going to be launching the daily live show.
Yep.
We knew we was going to be launching a whole new marketing system. We knew we was going to be launching our organic content increasing. And so we knew there was going to be a season of hustle.
In other words, he says, Leo, no complaining.
No. and so coming into that, I shared that because used to, you know, you're saying right now you're 8.5. Coming into this season, I would have been at 2.
Yep.
I've been like, crap, this is a lot of work. But now I realized that I planned for it, and I'm at a solid 9 because I come into this expecting to be working, and I know where it's taking us. Guys, if you know where you're headed, you know business at certain seasons is going to be difficult yet fun. You know that challenges are going to come. The unexpected is going to happen. So why let it throw us off?
So 1 out of 10, where are you? Put it on your paper. Write it down in the chat for us to see also. 1 out of 10. Okay, next is faith. This is your connection to something greater than yourself. This is your obedience to your practices, whether it's prayer, whether it's purpose, whether it's mindfulness. This is, for me and Andrew, hey, are we being obedient to God? Are we consistently talking to God? Are we walking through prayer? Are we serving at the highest level? Faith is different for everybody, but of course, we're very bold with our faith. We share our faith strongly with other people, and that's also a part of our faith.
Yeah.
Right? Is how much do we have faith in our leader, in our guide, to be able to share that gift to other people. So faith for you, 1 out of 10, where are you in it? But this is one where you're going to have to craft a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because everyone's journey is different. If this was me 3 years ago, it would be, am I walking to the church every day?
Yeah.
Right? Because that was my faith, that's all I had to do.
Yeah.
Right now, it's a lot more than that. I've created a lot more steps to it. And if I'm in daily prayer multiple times a day, if I'm in conversation multiple times a day, if I'm learning consistently, going to church, serving, then I'm close to an 8, 9, 10.
And that's a very good perspective. You know, there's a Bible verse that talks about that we walk in the light we know, and that God's law is written on the conscience of every person. And so understanding that as we are growing in our faith or as we're building closer to God, that there's always going to be new levels of realization and new levels of action.
100%. So, Faith, 1 out of 10, where are you? Type it in the chat and write it on your notebooks. Your wheel should start looking a little something like this. Hopefully it's more than the 5 and a 7, but it should start filling up. And you should start getting some clarity right here of like, oh, that's why I felt a little bit drained, or that's why I felt this way. And you're starting to see this happening in your life, or this happening. One of the two, this philosophy is starting to really make sense. Let's go into tribe, Andrew.
A tribe, this one is a game changer. How is the quality of the relationships around you? Who are the 5 people you're spending the most time with? Who are the people who you take advice from?
Yep.
You start to look around and take inventory of who you're spending a lot of hours with, or another way to say it, who you're investing a lot of hours in. That causes you to say, wait a second, relationships, friendships are work. That's okay, that's part of it. But is the 5 people closest to me 5 people who I want to be more like? Because inevitably, we're creatures of habit and we are all influenced. So if we are surrounded by people who lift us up, well, then we're going to grow. If we're surrounded by people who constantly put us down, the person who says, why are you doing that entrepreneur thing? I know so-and-so that did that and they failed. You should just get a real job. All the negative things people can say to us, and you start to surround yourself by that quickly, they're pulling you back down to their level. But the people who come together and lift you up, hey, why you got an incredible voice. Why don't you sing more? Oh my gosh, you're an incredible speaker. Why have you not been speaking on stages and sharing your gift? You've got people who see the gold in you and point it out and pull it out of you. That's a game changer. A place to belong. A place where people lift you up, and a place where people are real. That is a big one.
So 1 out of 10, here, let me explain this one in a way, because this is one when I rate myself, I'll kind of do 2 times sometimes. Like, hey, how is the quality of my tribe?
Yeah.
And then the other side is, how is my habits of building this tribe? And I'll kind of mix the 2 together.
That's good.
So when I ask myself the questions of tribe, it is, am I doing the work of nurturing and building these relationships? And that typically is the reason for the quality of your tribe, right? The quality of your tribe is a symptom of how hard you work towards it.
Right.
That's something I noticed. In each of these, you can kind of create an anecdote there of why one thing happens to another, which we'll go into wealth, we'll go into vocation very soon, but everything starts to tie into one another. When your emotional health is in a great place, your tribe is probably also in a great place. Because when your emotional health is strong, your confidence is strong. When your confidence is strong, you won't spend time with people who drain you and who don't actually want to be around you, and you will build greater relationships with people who improve that part of you. So everything starts to impact one another.
First time I filled out one of these charts, it changed my life.
It means me as well.
Yeah.
There was a moment in Miami. We were supposed to be in Miami, by the way, guys, but we had to be here. Well, we didn't have to be here. We wanted to be here because, number one, for you guys, we wanted to make sure we were here because we also haven't fully made an SOP for when we travel. How do we continue the quality of the show? But also because we wanted to get these projects done. I remember last time I was in Miami, that's when this philosophy was created.
Yeah.
Because it was such a terrible time. And I felt so drained spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. It was okay, right? But I started to realize, I thought back, hey, we're good financially, but I kind of don't like my life right now.
Wow.
And that was a big hit, because I remember always saying, once I have money, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll be happy. Once I make this much, I'm happy. Once I make this much, I'll be okay. Once I make this much, then I'll start doing X, Y, and Z. And then being in Miami in that week, having the money, but not having the other parts of my life that made me happy, forced me to make this philosophy, forced me to go and rate myself in the wheel, which I had seen it before, but not in these 8 categories that aligned with my entire life. So this is why we're doing this show. This is why we created Truka. This is why we're teaching this today, is because it's going to change your life. Just the way that you see the 8 categories will change your life. So 1 out of 10, rate the tribe. Rate the tribe, and how much are you doing to continue building this tribe? Okay. So next is vocation. So vocation is your work. It is how aligned you are with the work you're doing. It is the skill sets that you're putting out. It's the value that you're adding to the marketplace. It is the reason, it's not the reason you make money, I was going to say that, but it's the engine that creates income. It's the engine that creates revenue, that allows for money to flow in your life, and it comes from your career, your work, and your skill sets.
Vocation is a big one because we get into something sometimes we love to take care of the people we love, and then the very thing that we believed was the vehicle of freedom becomes a prison. And when I woke up one day, and I say it like that for a reason, when I woke up one day and realized I was in a prison of my own making by a business that sucked the time, life, and energy out of my life, I said, wait a second, this is not why I started this business. And in that time period is when we met. And we started talking about, wait a second, how can we create a business that actually supports our mission and our vision rather than being a job, except it pays a little better than maybe working for someone else. And so making sure your business is structured, I would rather make if you give me the choice between 50 million a year and a business I hate, or 5 million a year and a business I love and that drives me to my vision, I'm going to go with the lower amount and the business I love because I value my peace so much. So make sure your vocation is taking you to your purpose, not sucking the life out of you.
I remember you saying that like 4 years ago when we first met, and it changed my mentality. Because I always wanted to make so much money until I realized, like, why?
Yeah.
Like, why do you want to make $100 million? Like, what is that going to do? And then you start to ask those questions like, hey, if you were to make $100 million, what would you do? Or what kind of life do you want to live? And you say your dream life. This happens with most people now.
Yeah.
What is your dream life? I want this, I want this, I want this, I want to be doing this, I want to be doing this. And you start to realize $2.5 million can cover that, right? Why do you need $200 million? It becomes an ego game.
Yeah.
And I had to realize that where, if we want to live our dream life, of course, we want to impact so many people.
Yes.
That's why we want to get to more and more levels so that we can keep doing that. But really the real life that we want to live and that we desire to live does not require us to be a billionaire.
And that was the cycle for me, was dreaming of making $1 million one day when I was starting, right? To then making millions, saying, wait a second, I've created a life I hate. Yep. To saying, okay, I want to dream big to impact others, but it's not at the cost of being a slave to the business or hating my life. It's doing big things to impact others in a way that is sustainable.
100%. So 1 out of 10 vocation, where are you? Rate it out and think about this. Like, do you love your work? Are you in a place where you feel like the time that you spend in your work is really giving you a strong ROI? Is it bringing you the income that you want that allows you to keep pouring back into it? Are you able to use your skills and your passions, and is it aligned with your purpose? 1 out of 10. Type it in the chat, 1 out of 10, but also write it down in your notebooks in front of you. Okay.
Next, your wealth. How is your relationship with money? How do you trust yourself or not trust yourself to know that you can take care of yourself and your family always, to be able to walk in financial abundance and financial freedom? Now, as you're rating yourself on this one can be a tough one for the ego or a good one for the ego, depending on where you are. But I remember making a lot of money and looking at the bank account, realizing the bank account was low. And I'm like, wait a second, how am I not managing this money properly? And so I always believed the solution was to make more money, which helps a lot. Increase the revenue, change your life. But at the same time, when that money's coming in, are we trusting ourselves with money? Are we understanding how to build wealth and build our life of freedom to where this business and the money we are making is actually serving us. Because ultimately, if you make $1 million and $1 million goes out the door and doesn't change your life in any meaningful way, then that kind of sucks. Or if you make $1 million and you have $1 million in the bank and your life is still not as pleasant as you want it to be, then that is not a good plan. So we say, how do we create wealth in a way that takes care of us, legacy wealth to take care of future generations, those around us, family, friends? How do we make sure we're building wealth, making it where our money works for us and not the other way around? How do we multiply that money we are making? So creating it and multiplying it. And then how do we make sure that it's in a stable way, that through the ups and the downs of the market, through the ups and the downs of businesses, through the ups and downs of life, that financial freedom can be a stable in your life?
The amount of money in your bank account is typically a symptom of your financial responsibility, your financial stewardship, your stability overall, and actually your understanding of financial freedom and how to get there. So when you're rating yourself 1 out of 10, typically, the amount of money is going to be the rating because of the symptoms, right? If you haven't checked your bank accounts and if you're spending way out of budget, if you haven't been investing your money, if you've been very irresponsible with the money, the bank account's probably low, and because of that, the rating is going to be low. But if we think about it then, guys, it creates so many different philosophies for us. If we focus on financial responsibility, if we focus on stewarding that money well, then it's going to grow.
Yeah.
So then typically your rating also goes up. So this acts also as a guide for you guys. It's a North Star. When you're going back to these 8 right in front, I'm going to show it again. When you go back to these 8, you can start to see it in a way, in a fashion of, okay, I know I want to improve the wealth. I also know, though, I can't just spawn money into my life.
Yeah.
So then what can I do? I can build better skill sets, and I can learn better financial responsibility. And if those 2 things are done, you're very likely going to improve your rating and your wealth, which is going to allow more money to flow to you.
Right.
Not because all of a sudden money's necessarily quote unquote attracted, but there's always money flowing around. But it flows to the people who have great skill sets, who add value to the marketplace. And if you add more value to the marketplace, guess what? Money's going to come to you.
Right.
So there's a lot that goes into it, and this is why we want to spend a whole entire episode to guide you guys through each and every single one of these. So 1 out of 10, wealth, put it down, type it in the chat, write it in your notebooks.
And what you said on wealth, I want to point out, you said that the money in your bank account is a symptom.
Yes.
That changed my perspective when I heard you use that word regarding the bank account, because I always thought I was pursuing the thing to get my bank account up, right? How do I go get a check and put it in my bank?
Yep.
But that's just the symptom of the value I'm adding to the marketplace. That's just a symptom of the fact I've been doing my sales calls. That's just a symptom of the fact I've been selling, creating, serving, growing. Mm-hmm. And once I made that connection, I said, oh my gosh, this makes it so much more simple.
A lot of people think you have to have the money before you start managing it well.
Yeah.
And it's never that way.
So true.
You might make a lot of money. Like I remember making a lot of money when I was 17 and losing it all because I didn't have the ability to manage it.
Right.
And it's like it came in and went right out. So it never was really mine. And I think about something I'm learning right now is be, do, have. It's something I really want to study, so you'll probably see me teach it a lot. But in the Bible, it says be, do, have. Mm-hmm. A lot of people think it's the opposite way. You have it, then you do more, and then you become the person.
Right.
But really, you become the person who is able to manage your finances well.
Wow. And
then you do the actions it takes to make more money, and then you have it. So really understand that it doesn't start. The financial responsibility, the right tax management, the right leadership of money, the right stewardship doesn't come once you have a bunch of money.
Right.
The bunch of money comes once you become a good steward of money first.
That's a game changer, guys. Type it in the chat, write it on your notes. How are you doing in your wealth? And here we have environment with a beautiful picture of our living room.
Yes. Write in the chat, be a good steward. It's something we'll come back to eventually, but just I want you to have that note, be a good steward. So your environment, we have our living room here downstairs, and we crafted this living room because I saw a picture that looked just like this one day. And when I was in my very toxic household, with my parents fighting every single day, with dogs peeing everywhere. It was a terrible, terrible work environment. I remember praying and saying, I'm a create. I said I was going to create a house. We bought this house, but I was going to get a house that looked just like this. That has a beautiful couch. I can work there. I can sit there. I can relax. Beautiful backyard to be able to walk outside and feel the summer air. And now we have it. But when it comes to your environment, this is the space that you're in. How do you feel in your space? How do you feel it's impacting your energy and your well-being? Do you feel like it's somewhere you can meditate to? Do you feel like it's somewhere you can sit and recharge, right? Because we need to be able to recharge in the crazy environment that sometimes we live in, right? In the world environment that we live in. So can you create a sanctuary in your house that is comfortable, that is sustainable, that has harmony?
That's such a powerful thing when you can have a place. Back years ago for me, it was going to the coffee shop because it's the closest thing I had to a good environment.
Yep.
Now, of course, having homes where we can build our own environment is even more awesome. And being able to just go and let your mind relax, let your mind flow, think of the things that you need to do, work, grow, relax, all those things in a great environment that are conducive for such.
And some of you guys might be saying, okay, I get it, but I can't just spawn a house. I can't just move into another place. I have to build up to that.
Just put all the junk in a corner where you don't see it.
Exactly. Right now, you can create a space. You can create a space that does not necessarily match the dream, but you can definitely create a space that gives you that ability to recharge. But here's the mentality I would tell my younger self. Find the house that you want. Ask yourself how much you need to make a month to be able to pay for that mortgage. How can you make that house pay for itself? That's what me and Andrew have done multiple times over, is we've created this as an HQ so we can have a studio, so we can throw events, so we can do one days here. And everything that we've done has been able to pay for this house so many times over.
Yeah.
So while sometimes I'll revert to talking to my younger self about, hey, just put the junk in the corner and just, you're fine. I also would tell him, like, buckle up, get to work, get better at what you're doing, get better at sales, get better at marketing, get better at talking, get better at social media, because you'll make more money. And when you make more money, when you're making the amount that you want, buy a house.
I heard Laurel Langmeyer years ago, I haven't seen her for years, say she wanted a new house. Her mortgage payment was going to be $5,000 a month, so she went and bought a laundromat that made $5,000 a month.
Yep.
She said, now I got a house that's paid for, and in a few years I'll have a free and clear house and a laundromat that's paying me still.
That right there. So what we're talking, it's so normal because we talk about this all the time, and we've been living it for five plus years now. But someone who's just listening in, maybe they're listening later, because this is one that we're going to send out to everyone. Millions and millions of people are going to see this episode here. It's episode 51. What is it about that? Because that changed my life. Oh, I can create an offer, or I can create a business that makes me 5 to 10K a month and buy the house that I want. Wow.
Yeah.
But drill it in more before we keep moving on.
So when I say value to the marketplace, that could be an offer you create. What is normal to you is something someone else wants to learn, whether that's speaking, whether that's being a personal trainer, whether that's sales. There's so many ways you can flip couches, flip cars, flip coins, flip houses, anything, right? So there's all sorts of ways you can add a value, make an offer to the marketplace. And then this is what took me so long to understand, was you can buy assets with debt, acquire debt, use that debt to acquire assets, and make those assets pay for your lifestyle. Now that didn't make no sense to me. Wait a second. It's years ago, I'm broke. How do I acquire an asset? Except there's debt to acquire the asset that the asset will then pay you. What's the value you add? Figuring out how to acquire the debt, figuring out how to acquire the asset, and making sure it's managed properly.
Yep.
So now you realize it has nothing to do with working X amount of hours to get X amount of dollars. It has everything to do with the assets you can acquire and the offers you can make, whether those offers are hard things or soft things.
So then in real, like for example, Andrew's example in real estate and offers, real estate, what the value you're adding is that you're helping a homeowner who wants to sell their home,
Exactly.
and then you're helping the title company who wants to do more work, title work, get them more title work. The attorney who's looking for more work, you give the attorney more work. The person that you rent the house to now has a home and a great landlord. So much value you're adding to the marketplace. That's why you get paid in accordance to the value you add to the marketplace. Same thing with an offer. Maybe you're great at sales and you want to start training people on how to do more sales, because if you do more sales, you get a better lifestyle.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing a sales training, maybe I charge $1,000 a month to help you with sales. And now that person's making $5,000 a month. Perfect. That person gets a greater lifestyle because of it. And that's the value I add to them. And the people they sell into a great product.
Yeah.
And it just adds so much value to everyone. And then you get paid for the value that you just added to that person.
What? And I used to think, before I thought of abundance, I used to think in lack or in scarcity. Well, my gosh, not everybody can be in sales. I would think those thoughts, right? And so, like me somehow selling and making money in the marketplace was going to take money out of the market, and the economy could not sustain my success.
Right.
And I say it that way a bit humorous, because I know we've all had those scarce thoughts. But I think about what should we pick? Let's pick this wood thing.
From Amazon.
So we
Bezos.
order the wood thing from Amazon. Bezos gets paid because he started the company. Somebody at the Amazon packing center gets paid for putting it. The guy who brings it to our front porch gets delivered for driving it here. We have people who got paid to assemble, to build the thing and probably ship it to Amazon. We have probably 20 or plus people getting paid in some way for this one little thing we bought. And you start to realize the flow or the velocity of money, the flow and the velocity of value, and realize that there is more than enough to go around. The marketplace is constantly moving. You're not taking it out of the marketplace. Because we gave that money to Amazon doesn't mean that, oh, that money's gone forever. No, Amazon's going to go do other things, go hire more people. They're going to buy more services from us, and money's going to continue to rotate. Velocity of money. So we're placing our self in the path of progress by buying stuff and selling stuff.
And I look at this and I'm like, okay, they might be saying, okay, Amazon is such a big company. That's what I would have been saying years ago. But then you think about the little metal hinges in there. Even the metal hinges on this wooden thing were made by a different company that's now getting paid because we're buying this.
Yeah.
Right? And that keeps flowing and flowing and flowing. But what we want, moreover, is not for you to just listen to that. It's for you to say, wow, could I look at anything in front of me? Look at this MacBook in front of you, this teacup in front of you, this mouse from this company, the mouse pad.
Yeah.
Everything was created because they added value to us and we paid them in accordance to the value. And everything leads to everything. And if, like Andrew was saying, if you could just put yourself in the flow of money and understand it, then you can start thinking, how can I add more value to the marketplace? How can I add more value to people? How can I be of more servitude to people? And you're going to get paid in accordance, in direct proportion to that value, to that servitude.
That's big, guys. That's a takeaway.
So, wisdom is the last one. We just did environment. 1 out of 10, how is your environment? How do you feel in your environment? Do you feel like you're taking the actions there? Okay? Well, we're about to go over, I'm going to go over wisdom right now, but then we're also going to show you how to then take action on these things. What do I do? How do I start to improve myself? Because if I improve one, I improve all. But let's cover wisdom first. This is you showing up to this show and not just listening to us.
Yeah.
It's applying the knowledge that you got from us. If you today started looking around your house and see, how did they add value to my home for me to have paid them? Right? Anything you buy from Amazon, ask yourself those questions. Go to a restaurant, ask yourself, how do they make money? How are they adding value to us?
Yeah.
That is applied knowledge. And it's also your commitment to lifelong growth. It's you saying, I'm not better than everyone else. Instead, I can learn from everybody by asking the right questions. I can be curious about, hey, I wonder what I can improve on. Hey, I wonder who made this and how long it took them and what their life is and how much value that they add to other people through these teapots.
Yeah.
It's asking yourself these questions always and always, always, always being curious.
It's going from the mindset of a consumer to a creator, or a only consumer. You know, I love seeing ads. I love going to a car dealership and buying a car, although I haven't done that for a while. I love doing those things because when I do, I always gain perspective into other people's offers. What are they offering? What is the unique selling proposition? And once I understand what their unique selling proposition is, what caused me to go to this car dealership and not another one? What caused me to order this MacBook and not another one? What caused me to buy this teapot and not another one? Then I can now understand what I can do to make my offer better.
Boom.
Ask great questions, gain knowledge, and apply that knowledge. It becomes wisdom.
So that is 8 out of 8 of the Truca 8. Type in the chat, guys. How does your wheel look? How does your full wheel look? Is it wonky? Is it balanced? Is it full? Is it not enough? Where is your wheel? Type it in the chat. I want to know. I want to get to understand. Because the first time I ever did this, guys, it was embarrassing. It was the wonkiest wheel I ever had. And it was actually the best day of my life. I don't know if you remember, Andrew, but after that day, I started waking up at 4 a.m.
I do remember.
I started working out hard every single day. I started to execute. My mindset was better. I stopped complaining.
Yeah.
I became a beast after that because I realized how poorly I was doing in my life. So where are you guys? What is your reflection? Type it in the chat. We see all of your comments here, and it just allows us to reflect with you and guide you guys on this next piece. What you're gonna do then is in the 8. This is a pretty good relation to what mine was, except the emotions was probably a lot lower at that time. What I did and what I urge you guys to do, or actually what I want you guys to do, is circle the 2 that are the lowest. Because if we go back to this philosophy and understanding that when one thing is down, when one thing is broken, everything else is broken. Everything else starts to fall with it. So then if we can just fix one piece, everything else is going to improve, because on the flip end, when one thing goes up, everything else goes up.
Yeah.
And you might as well fix the bottom ones that are the least, that are struggling the most. So let's take environment for example. Let's just say, Andrew, someone's environment is a 1 out of 10. It is struggling. It is like how I was, where my parents are fighting every day. My dogs are pissing everywhere. I feel like crap. My kitchen's dirty. This is everything. And I even my room's dirty, right? Unclean. But that's something I can control, right? But what is something that I can do to get it from a 1 to a 3?
Take an action step, whatever's realistic. I always say, don't do what you know you could do. Do what you know you're likely to do. Commit what you're likely to do. I could say, well, gosh, take 24 hours and clean the whole darn house. But I know that's not likely to happen.
Okay.
You gotta sleep, right? So what's step 1? I could clean my office. That could happen in 2 hours. I could hire a house cleaner if I know that's more likely. I could schedule to change the carpet if that's an item that needs done. So what is 1 or 2 action steps that I am likely to take? Straighten up the house. Even before I start cleaning, could I straighten the house in an hour and clean 1 room? And so now I'm looking at what's an action step I can take that starts making my environment better. If it's wisdom, if it's knowledge, if I'm needing to gain knowledge, what's 1 book I can read? If it's money, what's 1 action step I could take to make a sales call, right? So what is 1 item I could do that I am likely to do? I can say I'll do it and I'll know I'll follow through. So I build that trust in myself. And whatever that thing is for you, do that thing.
So again, circle the 2 that have the most struggle. So let's do a couple more examples before we wrap up tribe. If your tribe is a 2, I like to ask the question sometimes, how do I get it from a 2 to a 10?
Yeah.
Which is not going to happen in a day, but maybe it is going to a big event. Right. I know for someone, if I know people who were a 2 and they came to one of our Truca events and they were an 8 by the end of it. Because you can meet the right people. That's one of the big actions that you could do.
Right.
But for you guys right now, just think, how do I get from a 2 to a 4? Oh, let me reach out to my friends that I haven't reached out to in 2 weeks because I've isolated myself. Or let me actually call my family for the first time in a while. A lot of the things are very obvious, but when we use this philosophy on a day-to-day basis, we get to see why our life is in a rut.
Right.
Or why our life is so good right now. Or why our life is in shambles. So take your pick. If it's wisdom, if your wisdom is a 3, that means you're not actually learning.
Right.
You're not taking things in. Maybe your ego might be too big. That's what happens. My wisdom was low because I was seen as a coach for so long. I remember this moment. I was seen as a coach for 2 years straight. I stopped learning. I was just coaching other people. My ego was too big. My wisdom was so low, so everything else was so low. So maybe can I start reading some more? What are some other examples, Andrew?
Well, gosh, my head is spinning with ideas. So I think it's so important. And again, for me, I just ask myself, what's an action that I can implement? What's something I'm likely to do? Where can I put myself? What's the environment I'm most likely to succeed in? I work better with partnerships. I work better with team. I work better with people. So I know if I go to the office by myself for 4 hours and commit to do calls, it's likely I'm going to do calls for 30 minutes because I don't enjoy sitting holed up in an office for 4 hours doing calls. But I know that if I hop on a Zoom with one of our team, or you and I are sitting in a room and commit to do 4 hours of calls, it's likely it's going to happen. We're like, hey, I got one. Hey, no, I got 2, right? Because we're having fun. It's a competition. So how do I constantly curate a place for myself to work, a mental space where I can work in a way that succeeds, that gets me closer to my goal? Am I hanging around people who constantly encourage me in my faith in God? Am I hanging around people who constantly ask me what I'm reading and we're discussing ideas? Or am I hanging around people that's always tearing others down? Am I consistently pouring in wisdom, receiving wisdom? Is the songs I'm listening to, the books I read, the audios I'm listening to, the YouTubes I'm watching, helping me grow my mind? Or are they destroying my mind with bad ideas and negative thoughts? Am I feeding on news 24/7 and news reports? I'm telling you, there's enough news to make you depressed. But you can also take the same internet with the same phone and the same screen and retrain your algorithms. And when you're scrolling, you're seeing people give you wisdom instead of give you bad news.
So this becomes what we have seen, biased, the greatest self-development tool that you can use. Because yes, you could go watch Reels for the next 2 hours and get 40 different action steps that you could take. Or you can look at what does your life need right now? Where are you struggling with right now? And if your wealth is struggling, your finances are struggling, okay, maybe it's because your environment is so poor. And because your environment is poor, you're not doing the action steps required to make more money.
Right.
Or maybe because your wisdom is down, you're not actually learning how do I get financial stability. So then we can start setting out a goal for, hey, every day for the next 30 days, let me just learn a little bit more about financial responsibility. And guess what? My wealth is going to improve. My wisdom's going to improve. My environment might improve, right? But because those things improved, you started to improve every other aspect. It is such a philosophy. It's such a simple philosophy, but it's one that we have seen has changed so many lives in the way that people move. And it's almost one of those where I like to tell people to challenge it. Find anything that can challenge us and let us know, because we like to improve this. This was not perfect 6 months ago.
Right.
All the words have changed over the past 6 months because some people are like, okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does that mean? So we fixed it. But while you're challenging it, you'll start to realize any part of your goals, any part of your life can fit in one of these categories. Any part of the things that you want to grow in your life can fit in one of these categories. So you might as well rate yourself on a regular basis and find out where you need the most help.
Guys, I'm trusting that you got as much out of today's episode as we did putting it together for you. And rate yourself. This is going to be one you want to save to your favorites. You want to share with your friends. You want to go back and watch over and over again. And week or 2 or 3 or 4 from now, you're going to be feeling down one day, or your finances is a little off, or your reading or morning routine's a little off, and you're going to go back and you're going to rewatch this, and you're going to take the test again, and you're going to say, oh, that's why. I got to put some focus on this piece. I had let that go. I got focused on other pieces. So consistently come back to this, enjoy it, utilize it. Thank you so much for being here.
Cheers.
We'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time.
Bye bye now.